everyone. My name's Heather. I'm an OpenSciEd teacher and facilitator, and I'm excited to provide you with an overview of Lesson 1 of the Weather Unit. This lesson's really fun because it grounds the entire unit in something that kids are usually pretty excited about anyway, severe weather. Instead of just watching it, we're now looking at severe weather as scientists and trying to figure out how this crazy stuff happens anyway. So let's get started. The lesson at a glance is a 3-day anchor lesson, and it's about 30 minutes of prep on your end, mostly copies, maybe preparing a few templates of some of your chart papers for your consensus discussions. But the videos that you need for it are already embedded in the slides, so that's easy for you. So very minimal preparation for us. The lesson at a glance, day 1, has 2 main chunks. The first chunk, we're figuring out that wind, clouds, sun, and rain seem to accompany hail at some point. And in the second chunk of the lesson, we're seeing that some of our particle motion models from 6.2 might also apply to how hail works as well, which is pretty cool that we're connecting something that we've done prior to this unit as well. The lesson at a glance for day 2, we see that there are again 2 main chunks. The first chunk, we figure out that there's a few things that we agree on, like sun before the event, wind and rain during the event. But we also notice that we have tons of questions about things that we don't agree on yet. And then we try to, in the second part of day 2, figure out how can we revise some of the questions from not only our models, but from earlier in the lesson, like our notice and wonders. How can we change those questions and revise them into something that we can test or investigate in some way? And then on day 3, we're organizing those questions on our driving question board, and we figure out that we have tons of questions and several investigation ideas that we might try in order to answer our questions. And we figure out that we want to start by looking closer at actual hail and where it happens most often. In this specific lesson, we figure out that hail is frozen water that is often accompanied by a lot of rain and wind. We also think that the wind and temperature have something to do with the formation of hail, but we're not 100%. We want to find out more about when and where and what conditions happen most often when hail forms. Some key moments in this lesson. Part 2, we're making a list of things that we saw in the video that were possibly important to the hail forming, and then remind students to add those things to their model, along with some explanation of what they think is causing the hail to happen, or these other things that we're seeing in the videos to happen. Like, for example, in one point we see in one of the videos, if you look really close, I believe it's the 3rd video, you see some steam coming up off of the rooftop after the hail has passed and the sun comes back out. So that's something kind of fun to poke at to see what kind of ideas they have about that, why that happens. In part 4, they're thinking back to things that we know from the thermal energy unit about particle motion, and how might some of the particles in different places in the model look differently or move differently, and why. So we pick some specific places in our model and add that deeper layer of thinking to our initial models. Part 6 and 7, students compare their models and look for and mark some similarities and differences between their model and a partner's model. We bring these ideas back to the science circle to see what we as a class agree and disagree on at this time. The disagreements usually get turned into questions, and I like to encourage students to add some of those questions that they were wondering as well to their own initial model. So they may not have it on there already, but this gives them something to listen for as other people are sharing ideas and questions that we have. It gives them something specific that they need to listen for as we're sharing, and it keeps them engaged. Part 9, I often hear part 9 that a lot of teachers, the first time they did the unit, might have skipped for time's sake. Please don't skip it. It's a really great opportunity for students to share something that they themselves have experienced and that they're excited about. It's their own personal experience, so it's low stakes, and it gets them to really share their voice, or share and use their voice, and become more comfortable doing that in front of the big group. I like to keep my related phenomena on one big list after all the classes have shared it, and then it becomes like a source of other ideas to investigate at times when we might get a little tired of the anchor. Sometimes we call that phenomena fatigue. So taking a break and exploring one of these for a day or 2 can often re-engage kids and help them get focused again on the main topic and not be so bored with it if we take a break. Part 11 and 12, we're building the driving question board and developing some ideas for future investigations. Every student gets to share at least one question that they have about hail or other related phenomena, and it sets us up for all of our future lessons and then some. We also give students a chance to share some potential ways to answer these questions, and they come up with great ideas, and often they mirror what our lessons are going to have them doing anyway. So this gives them that sense of ownership and confidence that what we're doing as scientists is legit and it's working. We're finding the answers to our questions. So it's really cool to see that later on down the road when we do one of their investigations that was on their list. They're like, that was my idea. Yeah. So it's pretty cool to see that when it happens. So that's a plus for this part. Where do we go from here? We want to know if our claims about what causes hail are correct, and we hope to start investigating some common hail conditions in the next lesson, as well as look at some hail up close. So we get to do that in lesson 2. Some material management tips and tricks. Find a place to store all of your initial models, your consensus models. I like to keep mine like off in a corner of the room where it's kind of unseen, and I can just pull those out as needed. You don't want to give third hour, all of second hour's ideas. I mean, maybe there's a time and place for that, but definitely not right away, right? So find a place to keep those kind of out of sight and only pull them out when you need them. Find a place to keep your driving question board and investigation ideas visible. They are a great navigation tool sometimes, like either within the lesson or between lessons. So having them visible is a really helpful thing to like just come over and gather around it for a minute to look at some questions and then say, hey, should we pause and investigate that or try one of our investigation ideas? It's a really great navigation tool to have those visible. When students are modeling on their own, make sure you're pausing for quick gallery walks here and there to spark ideas. Sometimes students get stuck. So giving them like maybe a 5-minute chunk to work on their model independently, but then give like a couple of minutes just for a quick gallery walk to hop up and look at what other people are jotting down. So that might give some people that are stuck an idea of how they can like move forward. As students are doing that, you could be doing that as well. And as they're working and adding to their ideas and revising, encourage some of these students like to be ready to share those ideas. Like, hey, I noticed that you have this here. Can you be sure to share that during Science Circle? That's really cool. So giving them that little encouragement will help kind of build their confidence to go ahead and share during the science time or Science Circle time. Plan for your initial model discussion. Make sure that you're looking back in the teacher guide and looking for some of the scaffolds that they offer in those, and practice drawing it before you do it with students and make sure that you have everything in there that you need. I also like to make sure I kind of jot down some questions off to the side too that I might ask students to make sure that we don't forget certain parts of the model when it's time to do that. Use a timer. I can't tell you how important that is to keep you on track with your time and not go down rabbit holes. Use your timer. Word wall management. Some words that we earn here are precipitation and hail. We also reinforce from the thermal energy unit the word particles, energy, temperature, and conduction. Poster management. Again, if you've got some posters from the thermal energy unit, you might want to have those out and visible to kind of like, especially with this first lesson, but not only that, but like, later on down the road too, we do in future lessons talk a lot about particle motion. So it might be helpful to keep some of those artifacts from unit 6.2 up. Also your driving question board, investigation ideas, any of those chart papers that you think could be useful in future investigations, like at least stash them somewhere easy access so you can use them again if you need to. My students really liked this lesson because it allowed them to think about severe weather in a new way. They're really invested after this lesson in trying to figure out if their claims are correct or not. So we're excited to find evidence starting in the next lesson to prove these claims true or refute them. So I hope this lesson helps you as you plan for your lesson 1 with your students. Thanks for watching.